All right, thank you all. Welcome. So it's 8:30, first day of InfoComm. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Really appreciate it. So our discussion today is about the future, and the future truly is now. The title of this is how real-time rendering, projection mapping, XR technology will change the big screen forever. And I think big screen that we're really talking about is imagery that we see every day, not just movies. Real-time rendering certainly has changed the way movies are made, but we're here really to talk about our world. Most of us aren't movie related, including our firm, so we'll be talking about public art displays, transit displays, displays we see on the street, displays we see on convention centers, and how real-time rendering really affects those. So what's really the need for real-time rendering is part of our topic this morning. We're going to talk about merging augmented reality to the big screen and to imaging technology, projection mapping, and how real-time rendering affects that. The future of filmmaking a little bit we'll touch on, and the impact of extended reality technology on the entertainment industry as a whole. And then we'll have a little Q&A. So a little bit about me, just to give you a little background. I've been in the industry 42 years, was involved in the very first InfoComm shootout. If any of you have been around long enough to remember that, it was in Anaheim. And I've been in the display and imaging business for 40 years, as I said. Started out in government contracting, underground command centers, worked closely with Sony to develop the acumen of how humans view imagery, how large the characters need to be, what color, contrast, how all those parameters affect how humans see vision. And that was in the early 80s, and that kind of developed into a design firm that designs really critical imaging applications, and that morphed into Quince Imaging entering our 27th year, where we design and integrate, and build underground command center applications or public art applications, museums. We also have a nexus in sports, and you'll see a little bit of that. The big thing is that about us is that we've evolved with the times, and evolution is part of our industry, and you have to embrace evolution. I recall back 3 decades ago when we were going from NTSC to HD, and it took 10 years to make that transition because of resistance by the broadcast community, users of the technology. And over the last 3 decades, that resistance has narrowed and really shallowed out. So now the current trend is to embrace new technology. It's not to wait for it to be proven, wait for someone else to do it. There's a real true value in being the first into this kind of technology, and that's what's really great about our industry. So the 6 core competencies for us, I'm not going to really worry about that. We're in event productions, we're in systems integration, so when you wonder how we know about this technology, we really are in 6 pillars and 6 business areas, and we work in them every day, from live events to systems integration, critical systems integration, to virtual production, to extended reality and mixed reality solutions, and we also consult with a variety of verticals on this technology. So I want to show you a little bit about an example of how real-time rendering has been used in the projection image mapping world. And pardon our technology here, we had a little bit of a challenge, but we're going to go ahead and hit play. Now this was baseball field mapping, and this is kind of how we got famous using mixed reality and real-time rendering engines. They were crucial for this application because not only was the projection image display, projection mapping display critical, we had to bring real-time rendering in, and you'll see at the end of this piece where we show live highlights. That was when we really deployed the power of the sky servers. And it's during this period right here. Now, the big thing about this and bringing in real-time rendering is it gives all of us new tools to be able to develop a new way to create this image. It's reduced the time from when a creative vision is arrived at to when it's deployed in an actual application. That's good. We can go on to the next one. I think you get the idea. One other recent application we want to show you is not just on a baseball field, but it's the side of a building. And we did a projection mapping array on the side of the UN. It was 31 projectors. And a lot of this content got changed and integrated overnight. And it wouldn't have been possible without the power of the real-time rendering engines that ran it. If you're interested in how we did this technically, feel free to come up after the session. We'd be happy to share that with you. Okay, so in a related twist, we played a key part in a number of augmented reality, bringing augmented reality visions to life. One of which we want to show you a little bit in our sports reel. This is not going to play, is it? But it's bringing augmented reality into the esports arena, and that's a frontier that really benefits from the power to be able to pull gaming data live and use it and be able to visualize it on the big screen and multiple screens. So, what's the real need for real-time rendering for big screens? As the demand for big screen experiences continues to expand, and we're talking about street corners, museums, sports arenas, anywhere that we go, transit hubs, it is a market that is ripe for expansion. We've only scratched the surface of what can be done in these applications in these venues, and also in a world where virtual and reality are becoming closer. It's just a powerful tool that enables creative types to create more freely in these types of applications. So what are the display types? I want to talk a little bit about it. It really includes everything. Digital signage, LED volumes, which of course are XR type studio applications, large format projection arrays, broadcast studio production, real-time rendering is affected, and of course, the cinema. The norm that we've had for most of our careers are 16:9 aspect ratio type displays, and now the commercial community is embracing out-of-box display sizes and arrays. From corporate theaters where they do their communication every morning, to esports arenas, to pro sports arenas, to transit hubs, to museums. Everybody's breaking out of the 16:9 box. It's been happening for years. And the real-time rendering capability enables the creative world to build content that is compelling on these kind of displays. It's much greater than 4K, so the power required has to be tremendous. And that's where these newer real-time rendering engines really shine. This is an image of Riot's World of Legends studio in Korea that we built. So it was designed and built to handle multiple inputs and outputs simultaneously. This is National Geographic's presentation room that also has out-of-the-box 16:9 displays. As you can see, and also mixing projection with LED, which of course the real-time render engine doesn't care what type of display it is. And current volumes of various degrees. This is really not an XR studio. This is sort of XR light or immersive light. But it also enables you to create up to 8K resolution, as it is in this application, in near real time. And creating content for vast arrays. This happens to be a 4K high by 12K wide resolution on the ice at T-Mobile Arena. And you're able to create real time. You're able to change the graphics just prior to walk-in or show. And this was done primarily with the power of the disguise servers of real-time rendering. Big screen displays that we've all seen have gone viral, out-of-the-box thinking. Forced perspective effects are very powerful. Works very well in a narrow viewing cone, as we all know. But still, it gives the media creative types in the media world a new way to advertise their products that give a life beyond the live experience. So not only do we need to consider the live experience of the viewer, but also how this lives on in media and in social media. And many of these forced perspective applications have lived on for millions of views. Some of ours have had well over 2 million views just because of the forced perspective, the powerful nature of it. And real-time rendering helps us create these displays. So we are using clever tech and content to create these more powerful visuals. There's another example that I think we've all seen examples of. So Photoshop versus 3D real-time rendering are opening up more 3D effects, more 3D possibilities in our world. And 3D, of course, we throw out there very generally. It appears to be 3 dimensions of push from a specific viewing point. So we talked a little bit about the recent popularity of forced perspective. These gags are quite popular all around the world. And someone's dollars need to pay for it. That's the reality of the world we live in. And so we've tapped sort of a vein in the media generators to be able to afford and create these powerful visuals. They know the value of how this lives on in social media. What used to be extended reality, then XR, and now LED volumes or ICVX. This is the real true driver of real-time rendering. When the content changes in multiple planes at the same time, as the camera moves, the need for real-time rendering becomes apparent. I went ahead to real-time rendering on the big screen. So this is an AR example I'd like to go ahead and play. Oh, we're having the same challenge. Okay, if any of you have seen the Carolina Panther in augmented reality, and we'll have this presentation online, so I think these will play online. We were the technical engine behind creating these powerful illusions. We did not build the content. That was a partner that did that. But as far as the technology, the camera tracking technology, how that played with the real-time rendering engine to build the lifelike graphics of the cougar or panther as it jumps around the stadium. That's a true benefit of the real-time rendering engine, because this moves around the stadium, has to create a lifelike effect. We did it with the Baltimore Raven, it's now done with the Panther, and it's being done around the country in a variety of applications also. By merging the AR technology with the big screen, we're hoping that we can bring in audience participation in a more immersive environment. Excuse me. So some of the challenges in merging augmented reality with big screen. So we're creating these volume XR stages for everything. Unreal Engine 5 with realistic graphics, but the true driver of this is how good is the content? How good are the operators? Learning how to utilize these powerful tools is the challenge that we now face. There's a very limited number of operators of volumetric spaces that truly know how to work with clients to realize their vision in a creative form. And that's an area where we are all challenged, all of us here, to expand that pool of creative talent. We are, one of the ways we're doing it is with training. We bring in folks to our facility. We're located right outside of Washington, D.C., where we train on Disguise, and we train on Ventus, and we train on Pandora's Box, and a variety of platforms, whatever the clients would like to see. We train independent operators, we train our own staff, and we train corporate users of these products, and end users like themed entertainment operators. So that's one way that we can face it. But in the future, we're partnering with universities and higher education to try to develop an acumen course credits for these kind of technologies. And it's a slow ride. If any of you have ever integrated or tried to integrate with universities, it's a very slow process. Their higher education needs are quite a bit different than our world, where we sell products or services, and it's generally a very fast-paced environment. But we're working with a number of universities to try to create a pool where we can get future operators that know how to bring this technology to bear. So projection mapping also mixes in quite a bit. It, of course, is a technique that we all know what it is, that it's a technique that uses the architecture of the surface to try to extend and enhance reality. And it's used in quite a few places now in the United States. Kind of started in Europe about 15 years ago with the artsy community, and we've embraced it here in North America. And if you can think of a building that you think might be really powerful to projection map onto, I can promise you that we've probably assessed it as far as how many projectors it needs and what needs to be done to do it. When you combine these projection mapping scenarios with augmented reality, you can truly create an immersive environment. And that's what everyone is going for. That's what really is next. So in filmmaking, the demand is growing faster, as I said, than we have content creators for. So the technology has leapt ahead of our ability to use it. And an example is, one example of how real-time rendering has affected the movie and television making environment is The Mandalorian was made, they made 8 episodes in an extended reality scenario. And the writing was 10%. You know, the need for production staffers was 10% of what it would normally cost. The impact on that community is almost immediate. Now, they don't have a broad reach. They can't do 8 at once, or 10 at once, or 15 at once. But it's just a small example of how this type of technology is going to impact and going to race forward that community. That community will be running in behind, as they typically do. But it certainly has been an impactful time for them. So the real challenge to cinema also is that TV is approaching cinema quality. And the streaming is approaching cinema quality. They're able to do many of the same effects. many of the powerful imaging that cinematography can provide in a capsule of a television or of a delivery service. And that's going to help push this technology further. So I want to talk a little bit about the technology side of this. In all truth, I'm standing in for Eric Gazzillo, our Vice President of Technology, who is at home with his brand new baby. And this was supposed to be his presentation, and I want to thank him for staying home with his child. But he did provide a video, I believe.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate you filling in for me, and welcome everybody. Just want to chime in here on a few of the key points Scott mentioned, right? You know, obviously all these large format screens have created a huge demand, but more importantly, they've created a huge opportunity, right? Scott talked a little bit about how they affected, the cinematic community, but I think what's really important that I wanted to touch on is how historically consumer technology has always driven the professional video community, whether it's cinema, whether it's broadcast video, whether it's live events, right? A lot of these, great needs, great expectations, and technological innovations are driving, a lot of what we're doing now. And what's really fascinating is, a couple years ago, there used to be a huge lag. You'd see an advance in gaming or rendering or video technology and see it professionally, 3-4 years down the line. Now, things have accelerated so quickly where with real-time effects, tools like Unreal Engine, things that are happening in the gaming community, you can have all of those open source, those plugins, those updates, those, innovations for Project Avalanche, start being, going from development to live production, in a matter of months versus a matter of years, right? Even now already being able to, in real time, add additional supplementary code, make your own plugins, use tools like ChatGPT to accelerate the innovation of those plugins, right? All of that is giving the community so many more tools, not just to render for the stage, to pre-visualize a lot of these great effects and more complex effects for projection mapping, for 3D force perspective billboards, right? And it's unlocking storytelling in a new way. And I think it's just a really exciting time, not just that there's so many pixels to push, that there's just so many opportunity for creators to get in there, get their hands dirty, and innovate in a way that's really hasn't been possible, in the past 10 years.
Okay, thank you, Eric. So I want to talk a little bit about key takeaways, just retouch on. Really, real-time rendering has influenced and will influence every segment of our business, and all the way into classrooms and or corporate boardrooms if it hasn't already. It will touch on all those verticals in every sector of our industries that we serve. So creative use of this technology is only beginning, and we need far more creative resource in our industry to really push this forward. As we said, the technology is on the 50-yard line, running to the end zone, and the creative staff to actually run it and implement it and understand it are about 15, 20 yards behind. Our industry is getting better at adopting new technologies, and we're getting faster. And as the technology proves reliable, which generally speaking is much more now than it was 3 or 4 decades ago when it first came out, we're able to deploy these tools in new and innovative ways. And all this is critical in pushing the boundaries of AR and MR technologies to the big screen. So what has been a slow process of empowerment and adoption really has happened virtually overnight with this technology. And it involves everything, the discussions 4K, 8K, SMPTE 2110, all the technologies that we're all working with every day. Real-time render engines are ahead of that curve and able to handle all those type of technologies. And that's what we had today. Coming, really appreciate you all being here and your time this morning. Hope we touched a nerve, and if you have any queries, please reach out. I'd be happy to answer them.